While the sky is picking up light in the morning, Iris lies in her bed lifeless beside her husband while getting up with a red toy boat on her nightstand, going to the kitchen to grab a cutter, and leaving for someone. Reaching the woods, she climbs through the forest and rocks till she reaches the top of the cliff, where she places the toy boat in front of the picture of a little boy placed as a memorial. Walking to the very edge of the cliff, she looks down, but before she can take the drastic step to the afterlife, someone from behind calls her. A random guy, Richard, comes to her and starts small talk with her. She neither gives him her name nor talks about the child. Richard only slightly tells her to step back, but when she doesn't, he starts talking about his rough life, about how he used to love cars, but then he lost his love, Chloe, in an accident. He kept reminiscing about that moment for the 2 months he was in traction, thinking about how they had been arguing before that, and about something he said to her before the accident. Iris finally opens up and tells him Mateo, her child, was collecting wood sticks while they camped on this cliff. She and her husband were busy doing stuff and didn't even realize how far off he was till he fell off the cliff. She regrets not looking after him, not noticing him, and not dying in his place. She has been mourning, but she hasn't even been able to cry about it since then. Richard doesn't directly convince her to get off and not jump off, but his words of consolation eventually make her step back. She follows him down, which Richard takes as his win. He gets into his car while Iris tries to too, but the 2 cars are parked so close that she is unable to squeeze herself in. Joking about locking her in, he locks her between the car door and himself, while carrying an umbrella between the clear sky. She senses the change in vibe and tries to say something, but he cuts her off, questioning why she keeps calling him Richard and then tasing her with that umbrella. Tying her hands and feet with zip ties, he puts her in the back seat and drives away. When Iris wakes up, she freaks out internally and tries to open her hands. She then tries to use her smartwatch to call someone when not Richard tells her that she should follow the protocol as there are no signals. Iris panics till she realizes she has a cutter in her back pocket. While taking it out and cutting the tie, she starts talking to him about Chloe and if he lied. He tells her his story is true and that her efforts of trying to sympathize and soften him up are not going to work. Well, good thing she isn't trying that right now. Cutting the tie, she attacks him with the cutter, resulting in the car crashing into a tree. This impact slows her down as well, so when she tries to open the door, not Richard tries to catch her. Iris keeps hitting him one way or the other till she manages to throw him out of the car after tiring him. She then gets out too and uses the cutter to cut the ties on her legs. Unfortunately, there is no help around. She plans on running, but not Richard tells her he drugged her with a relaxant that is going to start paralyzing her body starting from her fingers to her legs, tingling to her, eventually losing her voice and entire control of her body in a span of a total of 20 minutes. Iris still pushes her luck and starts running, unfortunately dropping the cutter though. She ran around counting numbers on her fingertips as she taught Mateo to ensure if her hands were numbing or not. Not Richard isn't very far, but he isn't trying too hard, knowing he will eventually catch up to her once she stops moving. Iris has set an alarm for 20 minutes so she can keep track of the time, but that wouldn't stop the effects from kicking in. Her fingers start numbing and her legs tingle while she tries to hide. By the time Not Richard comes around, her legs aren't even allowing her to walk and she is hiding in the little space beneath a tree. She has to show a lot of patience as ants are coming out of an anthill and crawling on her skin. Not Richard is about to leave, but it gets hard for her, and she screams. She still manages to crawl away from him and land in the river flowing nearby. He shouts she won't be able to swim, but that doesn't mean she'd come to him. Flowing with the waves as if lifeless, Iris manages to muster energy to hold onto a log and then reach the shore. She only has a minute and a half, but all energy has been drained out already, and she only manages to crawl a little till she loses control over her body. An old man mowing the land finds her there and checks upon her. Iris has no control except for blinking her eyes, and luckily the man picks on that motion on time. He understands that she can hear and see him but not move her body. He puts her into a wheelbarrow and takes her to his house to call 911. However, the door starts knocking frantically. Lucky for Iris, he notices her frantically blinking her eyes, knowing whoever is out is a danger. Opening the door, Not Richard tells him he had an accident with his wife and is looking for her. He tells Not Richard to stay out while he calls the police for help, but he comes in as an intruder while trying to act all panicky. He is a perfect actor, but the intrusion is putting him off. Good thing William hid Iris somewhere else. Naming himself Andrew, he welcomes himself to sit even though William warns him to report him as an intruder. He then starts crying, convincing William to listen to him. Faking an entire story about his wife Chloe having differences with him and him arguing with her, he tries to tell him she is mad at him. He almost hits the bullseye when he tells William that she has a mental episode where she shuts down her entire body and refuses to move, talk, or react. William is about to reveal the truth till Andrew's phone buzzes, exposing his lie of losing his phone. All this happening while Iris lies behind the sofa Andrew is sitting on. William tries to send him away, but Andrew is caught on that he found Iris. William tells her she is in the shed and makes him get up, attacking him and calling 911 about the intruder intending him harm. However, Andrew doesn't intend harm to him, but death. The two get into a fight, and amazingly, despite being old, William has the upper hand and beats Andrew up brutally. The sick guy has to resort to using a nearby knife to attack William. Using that knife, he eventually manages to stab William and kill him. Hearing the police on call, he decides to burn the house. Iris has to watch this horrifying scene play out and then see the house burning. She taps on the ground with the only finger she can move, but she is covered and cannot be seen. Andrew goes out and tries to start William's truck, but it isn't igniting. That is when he notices the blinds constantly opening and closing, as Iris has been using that finger to pull the ropes of blinds lying next to her. Saving her, he takes her with him. During the drive, his wife and daughter call him about his daughter's amazing grades and how they're coming to the cabin to enjoy the weekend. Having a love for them, he agrees even though he plans to keep Iris there. Due to low fuel, Andrew has to stop at a gas station. Iris cannot move enough to call for help. She barely manages to undo her seatbelt and falls towards the window when a kid comes there. He notices her awkward, but his mom tells him not to wander off. She doesn't say anything as Andrew comes back and drives away, but sure finds something off. Andrew drives back to their wreck and is setting stuff up to tow the car away when a police officer comes there. He was reported about the car, thankfully by the lady. Andrew tries to lighten the situation, but the officer is no joke. Andrew makes up a story about his wife being wasted and wrecking the car, but things don't seem right to the officer. Iris pulls down the window with her barely moving body, making him come to her. Andrew uses Mateo's story as bait that she left him because of that. Iris has angry tears running down her eyes as she chokes out a voice from her throat. The officer comes to her, hearing her low call for help. She signals toward the cloth in front of her, which he removes to find zip ties and the drug. Andrew picks up the towing equipment and hits the head of the officer, breaking his skull. Stealing his gun, he puts the officer and his car on fire too. Driving away, Iris starts talking. She uses subtle words to insult Chloe and then tells him he has a daughter he loves, so he should go back to her and leave her on a random end since she doesn't know his name and won't report him. She asks what he said to Chloe while she was dying, so he tells her Hugh told her thank you, because seeing her die because of him made him feel connected to himself and feel like God. This heinous thought is what made him become a serial killer. She calls him broken, making him tell her he isn't, and that there is a change in plans as he is going to get to the end of the process right away. He takes her to where a boat is. Iris tries to inject him with the same drug, but she only has the energy to stab it and not push the drug in. She questions why he didn't let her die if that's what she wanted, making him tell her he didn't stop her. She did it herself. When Iris screams she wants to die, he tells her the past tense is the issue, highlighting that he will kill her now. He then drags her to the boat and rows away a little farther. Iris sees the knife and gun stock on the back of his pants and starts crying. Seeing her cry, he tells her something good came out, hinting back to how she wasn't able to cry since Mateo's death. She requests him to at least take out Mateo's boat for her. He looks in her pockets and finds it out, but Iris just used that as bait to take out the dagger. In a well-deserved manner, she stabs it through his neck so it sticks out of his cheek. Taking it out, he tries to use the gun on her, but she sways the boat and manages to throw him off. She then uses the gun to violently shoot in his direction. Soon she has gotten rid of him and just has to wait for her body to completely regain energy to get on the shore. However, the commotion created holes in the boat and it soon sank. She really is a strong woman to somehow manage to swim to the edge and get out of the water. She is finally regaining her energy as she watches a dying Andrew managing to swim to the ground as well. As he breathes his last breath, she walks up to him and repeats what he said to Chloe while she was dying, telling him thank you. She walks away like the boss woman she has shown herself to be.